Good afternoon, everyone. Hope things are well. Hope you are doing well. Let's be honest, none of us are doing well after that performance yesterday at the Etihad Stadium. Our record now at that stadium in the Premier League: 0 wins, 2 draws, 16 losses. We have scored 8 goals in 18 matches at the Etihad. I mean, what a horrific record that is. I get that Man City have battered us a lot during the Mike Ashley times, but these are no longer the Mike Ashley times, and we're still being battered again yesterday. Now, Man City, quality, they were good in the first half. We were able just to completely rip the game away from Newcastle. But from us, that's not good enough. That didn't like that performance at all. And I think it's a very concerning 6-pointer game. That was a huge game for potential Champions League football going out next season. But play like that, you can forget about Champions League football. I would go as far as say you can forget about European football playing like that. Just nowhere near good enough. Now, I get that one eye maybe towards this cup final. I understand it's our first potential domestic major honour in 70 years. Not to mention, if Newcastle beat Liverpool in the Carabao Cup final, we are guaranteed European football regardless of where we finish in the league. I get that this is a huge game, but we've got to show these matches respect. Did not like that game at all yesterday. And neither did our players, because I wanted to show you what Bruno said about the game actually when I get it up on the screen here. So Bruno's came out, obviously our captain on the pitch, addressed the performance, said that our biggest strength is working hard, but today we were very lazy. We know how difficult it is to come here. I can accept the defeat, but not in this way. Shambles. Strong. I actually like that message as well. Real strong message from Bruno there. And I agree with him. I thought Newcastle were lazy. I thought we showed Man City a lot of respect. And it was almost a case that we were just scared to play them. Which now, in my vlog, I made a big point about this. We'll talk a bit more about it shortly because, of course, this video is about the APT rulings, which is massive for Newcastle. But I mentioned PSR a lot. I mentioned FFP a lot in my videos yesterday. Now, regardless of how Newcastle played in the game, that still is a major factor because Manchester City, in their last transfer window, I mean, you're talking £120 million spent. Krishanovs came in, a centre-half we wanted to sign. He was top draw against us yesterday. Malamouche came in for £50 million, scored a hat-trick inside half an hour against us yesterday. Again, City have heavily invested in that window and they've got a lot of sellable assets where they're able to also sell on players, bring more players in. Newcastle have not been able to do that. We are heavily restricted by financial fair play and we haven't signed a player in 2 years. I know we were crap yesterday. I'm not going to sugarcoat the bad performance, but we have not signed a player in 2 years. That is a major factor. You can't deny it. That was a major factor why we just haven't been at it this season. We've been heavily inconsistent, and I think we've been too inconsistent. I don't think we deserve Champions League football based on what I've seen so far. But again, Newcastle still got a lot of games to go, and we need to beat Nottingham Forest next week. Now, even though Manchester City destroyed us yesterday, they have done us a massive favour going into this game because they've been able to prove in court that the APT rulings are deemed unlawful and shameful towards Manchester City. Now, just to get the actual Times article up here, so it says that City victory, as the rule itself has been declared void and unenforceable. Now, to try and explain briefly what the APT rules are, so basically this came in, you're talking less than 1 week after Newcastle United's takeover. So this came in, and the way that these APT rules work is that, let's say, for example, Newcastle United, of course, is owned by the Public Investment Fund, which means it's owned by a Saudi Arabian background. Now, if Newcastle United wanted to bring in a Saudi Arabia sponsorship, it needs to be 100% looked into by the Premier League, and it has to go through all sorts of different processes to be approved. So basically, because Newcastle has a Saudi Arabian background, any Saudi Arabian sponsor we want will be heavily looked at from the Premier League, and they'll either approve it or decline it based on what their personal preferences are. So to give an example, let's say Saudia, our current airline partner, goes up to Newcastle United and says that we want to change the name of St James's Park next season. We're not going to call it St James's Park anymore. We're going to call it Saudia St James's Park. We're going to give you £20 million per year to have this stadium right. And the Premier League can just go, no, we're not going to do that at all. Now, the issue is why it's deemed unlawful and why it's deemed perhaps a bit unethical to do is because it's actually been proven in court that the Premier League's been quite biased towards countries from the Gulf region. So because Man City has ownerships from the Gulf region, because Newcastle has ownerships from the Gulf region, they've been biased towards those particular places, which of course it can go through all sorts of different ethical laws regarding that. But the problem being is that 9 out of 20 teams in the Premier League have American-based ownership, so it's much easier for those 9 teams to be able to get American-based sponsorships in, because the Premier League doesn't really care about America. They're looking at the Gulf region area, and that's where it gets very unlawful. And that's obviously when Manchester City's came in. So just a quote on comments that Nick DeMarco has stated. So this is actually our club lawyer that we used a few years ago in court, actually. So he stated, "It was my view at the time that the consequences of the previous decision was bound to be the entire APT scheme was unlawful. It was surprising how many people did not recognise that." And yeah, that is a massive, massive victory for Newcastle. I know City went to court, I know City won the case, but that's still massive for Newcastle, because basically Newcastle and City are in the same bracket. So because Manchester City have proven in court that these APT rules are unlawful, it's now void. It's completely void. It's just gone. It doesn't exist anymore in the Premier League, which means now Newcastle, they can bring in these Saudi Arabian sponsorships that they want, and they haven't got to go through all of these little loopholes and all of these different processes in the Premier League. Newcastle can just get a sponsorship. I wouldn't say done like that, because I want to be clear, I'm not trying sway you guys into a certain direction, try and mislead anyone, but it's much easier now to get Saudi Arabian sponsorships in, and I would not be surprised at all, and I would go as far as say you should expect over the next couple of months more Saudi Arabian sponsorships to come into Newcastle, which of course gives us all more money, which then helps us out on the pitch, and it helps us a bit more in performances like that yesterday, because we need signings, desperately need signings, and that's a massive result for us. So I want to kind of come out in this video today and just to hopefully explain a bit more what's happened, because I know this is, I wouldn't say somewhat old news, but it came out about 24 hours ago. Had a lot going on, of course, a big match yesterday. So I kind of just want to come out today to let you all know what's happened, what this means, and what happens for Newcastle United going forward. Massive, massive thumbs up, though. City might have done us over yesterday, but they have certainly helped us this week, and I would argue that result with the APTs may actually be a bigger result than the game yesterday. So for us, in a financial point of view, that heavily benefits Newcastle United, and it really does help us bring more revenue into the football club, which will finally allow us to spend in this summer. My God, it's been a long 2 years with no signings, but we can actually go out there and bring some players in that improves and helps the first team out. So I'm expecting Newcastle to do that, but we'll get through more consequences and we get through more potential scenarios that happen during the week if more information comes out about this. But a massive win for Manchester United in court over the Premier League, and it just proves as well, just proves that the Premier League has properly shafted teams like Newcastle over. And I'm intrigued to see what Newcastle United would do about this in a legal sense. Would Newcastle United decide to go in for this now? Would Newcastle United potentially look at any examples where the Premier League's denied a sponsorship because of these APT rulings, because of the fact it's unlawful now? Would Newcastle then go back and revisit a former sponsorship that we didn't get and then bring them in? I'm not sure. Newcastle's got a lot of choices to make, and I'm expecting them to make a big one. I think they will bring some sponsorships in now. That's a result. That is a result. So I'm pleased about that. If you don't mind me, guys, I've got to recover because I'm still a bit ill, so I'm a bit dodgy at the minute. But you take care now. Let me know your thoughts down below. Hopefully that's cheered you up a little bit, because I know it's just been a horrendous weekend for us. But go back against it again against Nottingham Forest next week. We need to beat them. Need to seriously beat them, and then we'll back at it. So let's do it. Let's get into it. Take care, guys, and we will see you all in the next one.